Picture old watering cans brimming with wildflowers and rusty wheelbarrows transformed into whimsical planters. Achieving a classic vintage garden decor look isn't about perfection. It's about charm. Give your outdoor space personality with items that tell a story and spark curiosity. Why settle for plain when you can work wonders with flea market finds? Try placing antique lanterns among your daffodils or hang chipped teacups as bird feeders. Small touches like these give life to your garden and a gentle nod to the past. Try placing an old bicycle against a garden fence. Add a woven basket to the handlebars, fill it with trailing petunias or ivy. Mount more baskets to the rear. You'll turn plain ground into an eye-catching scene. Who says bicycles need to stay on roads? Let them wheel in some charm. One caution, make sure the bike is stable, especially if it's rusty or missing parts. Nothing's charming about a toppled petunia avalanche. Choose weather-resistant baskets and rotate the plants seasonally. Antiques bring history, but they sometimes bring headaches too. Still, a vintage bike can spark conversations for years. Old metal watering cans bring instant character to your garden. Imagine one brimming with bright petunias or trailing ivy. Suddenly, your patio has a splash of nostalgia. These cans often flaunt rust and dents, and yes, that's a plus. Imperfection tells a story and sparks conversation. Practicality shouldn't be ignored. Select cans without leaks or line leaky ones with coconut coir to keep soil in place. Drill a few drainage holes if needed. Watering cans as planters require less fuss than you'd expect, yet give your green space undeniable charm and personality. Why settle for plain pots? An old wooden ladder showing years of use adds immediate charm in the yard. Lean it against a fence and hang watering cans, metal trowels, or clay pots from its rungs. These practical items double as eye-catching ornaments, proof that a simple farm staple can carry a story. Careful placement is key. Too many tools seem cluttered. Too few look out of place. Pick sturdy pieces to hang, avoiding items prone to rust or splinters. If you're crafty, wrap the sides with twine or string up tiny outdoor lights for evening glow, inviting admiration from every visitor. Imagine hanging old teapots from tree branches, each bursting with violets or trailing petunias. This eye-catching idea mixes whimsy with sustainability, breathing new life into chipped china. A collection suits a country garden or urban porch, but watch for overwatering. Teapots often lack drainage, risking soggy roots. Have fun experimenting. Try mismatched pots or stack shapes and patterns. Crack open a teapot lid and let flowers tumble out as if they're pouring a cup of spring. Neighbors might stop and stare, curious if Alice or the white rabbit lives there. Now that's a conversation starter. Old window frames aren't just relics. They're perfect for giving your garden a nostalgic twist. Try leaning one against your fence and training morning glory or sweet pea vines to climb through the panes. This adds instant vertical interest, especially for small outdoor spaces needing height and a bit of whimsy. Some frames last longer than others. Choose hardwoods if you'll leave them exposed to rain. Add a base coat of weatherproof paint and skip glass panes altogether. To ramp up the charm, stagger window frames on a brick wall. Guests will comment, "Isn't that what you want? Something truly memorable?" An old enamelware jug, chipped around the rim, tells its own story while overflowing with wild garden blooms. Place one on a wooden bench or stone table for instant charm. Even dandelions or weeds gain status in such a vessel. Isn't it funny how the humble becomes centerpiece-worthy with barely any fuss? Try grouping several jugs of varying heights and colors together. Experiment with whatever blooms the season grants you, foxgloves, buttercups, or forget-me-nots. This approach celebrates imperfection. Sometimes enamelware can rust or stain, but enthusiasts argue that only adds character. Why settle for sterile when you can have history in every petal? Who says old bed frames belong in junkyards? Plop one in your garden, fill the frame with soil, and let flowers spill over like a blooming quilt. This quirky trick turns scrap into art. Neighbors might raise an eyebrow, but soon they'll want their own garden beds. Rust happens, don't fight it. A weathered frame adds charm, but check for sharp edges before planting. Petunias, pansies, or even fragrant lavender can flourish between headboard and footboard. Want more color? Paint the frame robin's egg blue or sunshine yellow. Suddenly, your yard tells a story no catalog could print. Rusty lanterns, when repurposed as floral centerpiece holders, bring a sense of history and nostalgia to any garden table. Picture wildflower stems spilling from weathered metal, creating contrasts both rustic and soft. This idea costs little. Thrift stores and markets offer endless shapes and ironwork for a song. However, rusty does mean fragile. Before filling with blooms, check for sharp edges and give them a quick brush down to avoid flakes. Add mason jars inside for water if holes appear. With a little creativity, these lanterns spark conversation and blend charm with resourcefulness. So, is your table ready for a touch of whimsy? Old wooden doors don't belong in landfills. They make striking garden backdrops. Their weathered surfaces bring warmth and instant character. Pair one with climbing roses or morning glories. You'll wonder why you ever considered something new. A touch of creativity and a splash of paint can revive a neglected door beautifully. Sometimes, old doors aren't perfect. Warped wood or peeling paint can look tired, but that's easy to fix. Sand rough edges, add a sealer, and you have a standout feature for pennies. Got a stubborn weed patch? Disguise it behind a vintage door. It's quick, effective, and nobody's the wiser. Old boots gathering dust? Turn them into eye-catching planters. Fill them with brilliant petunias for a pop of color against the muted leather. This is low-cost and charming, perfect for adding personality to a garden path. Water can drain easily too, helping flowers flourish, but avoid boots with severe leaks. Some say worn boots look messy, but the contrast between rugged material and soft blooms adds character. Don't toss mismatched pairs. Mix them for quirky displays. Kids love helping fill boots with dirt and petals, making this a family-friendly project that turns trash into talking points. Imagine resting on a weathered iron bench, blooms tumbling at your feet. Perennials like coneflowers and salvia soften the hard metal, creating a lived-in retreat. This mix delivers practical beauty. The bench endures sun and rain, while perennials return each year for a minimal-maintenance, high-impact display. Some find iron benches too cold or uninviting, but pairing them with abundant greenery changes the scene completely. Try adding colorful cushions if you crave extra comfort. Perennials also invite bees and butterflies, so your little garden corner turns lively every sunny afternoon. Isn't that worth a few muddy knees? A chipped vintage table adds soul to your garden. Old paint and weathered wood speak of stories. Don't cover them up. Place terracotta pots of greens and flowers across its surface. Group pots in odd numbers for a look that feels unstudied. Why aim for perfect when charm comes from flaws? Terracotta pots bring texture and warmth, but can dry out quickly in hot weather. Water plants a bit more often, or line pots with a coffee filter to slow moisture loss. Pair trailing plants with upright blooms for interest. A little planning, and your display draws more eyes than any new store-bought bench. Rustic bird cages brimming with trailing ivy or string of pearls instantly add old-time charm. Hang them from tree branches or pergolas for a storybook effect. You'll find these eye-catchers create both visual interest and a welcoming air, especially paired with blooms or outdoor lights tucked among the leaves. Some materials can rust, giving even richer character, but this comes with less durability. Choose sturdy metal or weather-ready paint for longer life. As the plants spill through the cage bars, they soften the lines, attracting attention from garden visitors and, occasionally, nosy birds seeking a new home. Old shutter panels can easily become a striking border for your garden. This not only gives tired shutters a second act, but also adds quirky character to any yard. Just secure the panels upright, alternating heights or colors for added drama. Rain or shine, they get people talking. Practicality matters too. While shutters create a charming look, they may need weatherproofing to last longer. A clear outdoor varnish helps preserve the paint and wood. Some folks use them solely for decorative purposes, tucking flowers and vines around for extra flair rather than privacy. Vintage chairs with peeling paint add instant charm when repurposed as flower planters. Just picture vibrant blooms spilling from an iron seat. It's quirky, creative, and budget-friendly. No two chairs have to match, actually. The more varied, the better. Why buy boring pots when these relics tell a story? Maintenance can be tricky, though. Some old chairs may rot in rain or attract curious critters. Consider lining the seat with coconut fiber before adding soil. Place the arrangement under a porch for shade and whimsy, letting your garden guests admire both the flowers and the history. Rusted wheelbarrows, long forgotten in sheds, gain new life as planters. Imagine a cascade of petunias and ivy spilling over the sides. This simple idea adds country nostalgia and texture to your garden. However, moving the wheelbarrow can be tricky once filled. Pick the perfect spot before planting. Why let old tools gather dust? An antique wheelbarrow brimming with flowers becomes a centerpiece and conversation starter. Choose vibrant blooms like geraniums or daisies. Group with vintage watering cans for added effect. Be sure to drill drainage holes to prevent soggy roots. A few minutes now, save headaches later. Want to give your garden a hint of old-world charm? Suspend mason jars filled with dried flower bundles along fences or trees. This technique adds texture, fragrance, and a splash of color without demanding much upkeep. Inexpensive and simple, these jars use recycled glass and blooms you might already have. Glass jars can catch sunlight beautifully, but remember, put them where wind won't make a mess. Experiment with different flower types. Lavender for scent, baby's breath for delicacy, or eucalyptus for rustic appeal. Change out the flowers as seasons shift, keeping your outdoor space consistently fresh. Old tin signs bring a certain charm to any garden. Instead of boring repeats of gnomes and wind chimes, these signs offer personality with chipped paint and quirky slogans. Mix bold graphics and weathered finishes. Want to make guests chuckle? Place a fresh egg sign next to your thorny roses. Don't expect tin signs to last forever outside. Rain and rust will do their thing. Yet that's part of the story. Some folks swear by a clear protective spray, but purists argue the marks of time only add appeal. Choose signs with colors that pop against your fence. Galvanized buckets easily turn into practical herb planters with loads of character. They withstand rainstorms, dogs, and curious kids while draining water well. Pop them on your porch, and you'll have rosemary near your fingertips. Stenciling plant names on the sides adds personality, whether you're growing thyme or just want to show off. Some criticize the rustic look as too farmhouse, but the utility is hard to ignore. Drill a few holes for drainage and fill with soil. Before you know it, your patio smells like summer. Plus, rusty buckets earn extra points for their weathered charm. Nobody needs matching pots anyway. Imagine sipping tea beneath a glimmering chandelier suspended from a sturdy tree branch. This blend of opulence and nature creates a striking centerpiece that turns a simple yard into an inviting retreat. Even an old, thrifted fixture works. Just string fairy lights through it for a fairy tale effect without electricity. But before you drag out your grandmother's antique, check for rust or loose parts. Safety first. Secure it firmly. Chilly weather or wind can shorten its lifespan, so consider taking it down in storms. Slight hassle, sure, but the charm and nighttime glow are pure magic. Rusty wooden crates stacked into a garden tower don't just catch the eye, they save space too. Fill each level with pots bursting with petunias, thyme, or even strawberries if you're feeling playful. It's reusable, affordable, and easy to change up if your mood or the season shifts. Got wobbly crates? A couple of well-placed bricks underneath will keep the structure steady. Sure, these towers might weather faster outdoors, but that only adds to their appeal. Sometimes, a chipped pot or peeling paint just makes the whole setup more charming. Isn't imperfection a part of nature's beauty? Weathered mirror frames, nestled among cottage garden plants, bounce soft light across the greenery. Ever noticed how an antique frame's chips and faded paint seem to whisper stories? Place one under overgrown vines. Watch as blooms reflect and shadows play. This creates a secret corner, no magic needed. Of course, glass can crack if it's exposed to wild weather. Consider positioning shelters like thick shrubs or archways nearby. Want a fairy tale moment? Let climbing roses or ivy twine around the mirror's border. That's character and charm with almost no effort. Old shovels and rakes can spark conversation when they're hung on a fence or shed. Why throw them out? A row of vintage hose creates rustic charm with almost zero effort. Sure, a bit of rust adds character, but remember, sharp edges need sanding so no one catches a scratch. Some folks consider these tools junk, but they're mistaken. Arrange mismatched trowels in a sunburst pattern or lean well-worn pitchforks to form quirky borders. This approach costs next to nothing and gives forgotten items fresh purpose. In short, your garden's story gains another chapter. Imagine a wicker basket perched on a garden bench, overflowing with pale pink peonies and powder blue hydrangeas. This touch doesn't just soften a space, it feels straight out of a timeless postcard. It's low fuss, too. Swap out fresh or dried blooms whenever seasons or moods change. Wicker ages with grace, but it can fade under direct sun. Try placing baskets in dappled shade to help them last longer. Why settle for ordinary plastic planters? Wicker's texture adds visual warmth, and those pastel florals instantly perk up patios or cottage gardens. It's budget-friendly, cheerful, and delightfully simple to update. An old drawer unit becomes a quirky showpiece with just a few pots and some soil. Didn't think those beat-up drawers could live again? Line drawers with a plastic sheet, insert terracotta pots, and stagger them open. This boosts vertical appeal and keeps plants at easy reach for care. There's just one caveat. Wood and weather don't always play nicely. To extend life outdoors, use a weatherproof finish or position under cover. Imagine sprigs of lavender or trailing ivy spilling over each level. Charm, undeniable. Suddenly, garden clutter turns into conversation fodder and a clever use of junk. Imagine an old milk can teamed up with towering wildflowers. This mix draws eyes, sparks conversation, and gives tired corners character. Steel or tin, dented or polished, the milk can holds history. Tall blooms, think sunflowers or cosmos, add drama and a whisper of untamed nature to your garden. Repurposing a milk can is simple. Place it near a pathway for a surprise effect, or use it as a patio accent. However, watch for rust. These antiques need a little care against the weather. A quick coat of clear sealant helps preserve their charm while letting the blooms do most of the talking. Imagine walking through an ornate vintage archway, entwined with flowering vines. It's a simple trick, but one that instantly transports you. These archways not only accentuate entry points, but create a storybook feel. Choose hardy climbers like clematis or roses. Regular pruning helps vines look tidy rather than wild. Maintenance is key, though. Old iron or wood structures need occasional repainting or sealing to avoid rust or rot. But don't let that scare you off. These archways rarely fail to impress visitors. Isn't it worth a bit of elbow grease for a spot that feels like a secret escape? Picture a splash of color against green grass, old metal chairs with chipped paint, each seat cradling a pot of petunias or trailing ivy. This setup adds cheerful charm and keeps worn furniture in use. Even the most faded chair gains new life with a coat of paint and lush flowers. Don't worry if your chairs don't match. Eclectic styles hint at a relaxed, lived-in space. Try mixing bold reds, pale blues, or sunny yellows. Just remember, drainage is key for plant health. Drilling holes or propping up pots helps prevent soggy roots and sad petals. Mixing lace curtains with a weathered garden table creates instant storybook charm, no green thumb required. Just hang the lace from a tree branch or trellis. Sunlight filters through, casting delicate patterns everywhere. Guests can't resist sitting down for lemonade, but beware, those curtains collect dust faster than you can say antique. Think thrift over brand new. Flea market finds offer real character and save money. Try mismatched chairs. Set that battered porcelain pitcher full of wildflowers as a centerpiece. This setup has one minor flaw. Wind doesn't play nice with lace. Secure those panels or prepare for a garden chase. Bringing vintage decor into your garden is easier than you think. An old watering can becomes a planter, or a wheelbarrow turns into a flower bed. Why let Granny's teacups gather dust indoors when they could be bird feeders outside? Think about small, simple upgrades. Paint a forgotten bench, hang chipped enamelware, or use mismatched plates as edging. These touches spark conversation and nostalgia. Ready to roll up your sleeves? Your backyard could soon have more character than your neighbor's veggie patch.